They call it the Valley of the Sun. One of America's fastest-growing cities, glowing with desert beauty, endless sunshine, and towering condos. But behind the heat lies a hidden inferno. We're breaking into the dark alleys, peeling back the glittering facade, and what we found will shock you. Downtown Phoenix smells of dust, sweat, and despair. Tents stretch for blocks. Families sleep beside highways in a city booming with wealth. Why are thousands forced to survive on scorching sidewalks? This is not just a story about homelessness. It's about a system breaking down in plain sight. Stay with us as we expose what Phoenix doesn't want you to see. Number 1. Homelessness in Phoenix. Let's start with the numbers, because they speak louder than any headline. On a single night in early 2025, over 9,400 people were counted as homeless across Phoenix and Maricopa County. That's not just a statistic, it's a human crisis unfolding under the desert sky. Think about it, enough people to fill a small town, sleeping on sidewalks, park benches, and in the shadows of skyscrapers that touch the sun. Statewide, the situation is even more dire. In Arizona, the total number of unhoused individuals has now surpassed 15,000, and more than half of them, over 7,500 people, are surviving completely unsheltered. That means no roof, no protection, not even a tent, just the harsh elements of the Sonoran Desert as their only cover. And here's the kicker. This isn't a new problem, it's a growing one. In just the past 5 years, the homeless population in Phoenix has surged by 50%. Yes, you heard that right. Despite public funding, community outreach, and multiple promises from city officials, the streets are more crowded than ever with people who've fallen through the cracks. It's a silent explosion, not of violence, but of vulnerability. What's even more heartbreaking is this: over 1 in 5 of these individuals isn't alone. They're families, parents with children, babies in strollers, teenagers trying to do homework under flickering streetlights. Nearly 21% of the homeless population in Phoenix consists of families with minors, many of them first-time homeless, due to eviction or rising rent. And here's where the contradiction deepens. Phoenix is booming. It's one of the fastest-growing cities in America, with luxury condos sprouting like desert flowers after the rain tech startups moving in and billions of dollars flowing through its veins. Yet while money moves upward, thousands of people are falling downward. There's wealth but no safety net, growth but no shelter, hope for some and hopelessness for others. You might be wondering, how does this happen? The answer isn't simple, but the numbers tell part of the story, and they reveal a city struggling to balance progress with compassion. In a place where the sun shines 300 days a year, many are left in the dark. And this is just the beginning, because what these numbers don't show is the fear, the exhaustion, the daily survival. They don't show the single mom sleeping in her car, the veteran with PTSD shut out of the system, the teenagers couch hopping from one friend's place to another until there's nowhere left to go. These aren't just unhoused people. They are neighbors without an address, citizens without a voice, and too often stories without a listener. But we're here to listen. And as we move deeper into this documentary, we'll uncover not just how Phoenix got here, but what it might take to turn the tide. Number 2, why it's rising. Let's peel back the layers, because behind every tent, every sleeping bag on the sidewalk, there's a deeper story. Homelessness doesn't just happen. It builds up like steam inside a pressure cooker, and in Phoenix, that cooker's been ready to blow. First, the housing crisis. Affordable housing has all but vanished. According to the Arizona Housing Coalition, as of 2025, Phoenix has a shortage of more than 135,000 affordable rental units for low-income residents. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. For someone working full-time at minimum wage in Arizona, which is about $14 per hour, even a modest one-bedroom apartment is often out of reach. Rent for such a place now averages over $1,400 a month. The math simply doesn't work. And then there's inflation. Grocery bills are up, utility costs are up, gas prices through the roof. In a city where you need a car to get almost anywhere, Rising costs have turned survival into a daily equation of impossible choices: food or rent, gas or medicine. For many families, one missed paycheck can mean eviction, and in Arizona, eviction happens fast. In fact, Arizona consistently ranks among the top 5 states in the country for eviction filings. During the pandemic, temporary protections kept people in their homes, but when those protections ended, evictions soared. In 2024 alone, Maricopa County saw more than 80,000 eviction filings. That's over 200 families a day being pushed to the brink. But housing is only part of the puzzle. Mental health and addiction are often part of the equation too, and here's where the safety net has massive holes. Many unhoused individuals in Phoenix struggle with untreated trauma, depression, bipolar disorder, or substance use, but access to care, it's limited. Behavioral health services are stretched thin and long wait lists are the norm. If you're homeless and need help, you might be waiting weeks, or worse, not get help at all. And we can't ignore the role of sudden life changes: a lost job, a medical emergency, domestic violence, divorce. Sometimes it takes just one of these for someone to spiral. One accident, one hospital bill, one bad month, and everything unravels. Here's the uncomfortable truth: in a city as wealthy and growing as Phoenix, being homeless isn't always the result of bad decisions. Often, it's the result of a broken system. A system where rent outpaces wages, where help arrives too late, where there are more luxury condos than shelters. So, when you see someone living on the street, don't ask, "What did they do wrong?" Ask instead, "What failed them?" Because what's happening in Phoenix is not just a housing issue, it's a social fault line. And unless something changes, unless we fix what's beneath the surface, that line will keep cracking and more people will fall through. Number 3, inside the zone. If there's one place that captures the heart of Phoenix's homeless crisis, it's the zone. Located just blocks away from downtown, the zone wasn't just a homeless encampment. It was a city within a city, a raw, unfiltered reflection of what happens when housing, healthcare, and hope collapse all at once. At its peak, the zone housed nearly 1,000 people. Imagine that: an entire neighborhood made of tents, tarps, and shopping carts sitting in the shadow of City Hall and high-rise condos. Every morning, the sounds were the same: the shuffle of feet on hot pavement, the buzz of flies, the distant whir of traffic. But it was the silence between those sounds that said the most, the silence of being unseen. In the spring of 2023, that silence was broken. Citing public safety and sanitation concerns, the city of Phoenix began dismantling. The zone bulldozers rolled in, tents were torn down, streets were swept clean. Between 700 and 900 people were forced to leave, many with nowhere to go. The city said it offered help. Roughly 500 individuals were placed into temporary housing. But what about the others? Where did they go? Under bridges, into alleys, or further into the margins, where cameras don't follow and services don't reach. The sweep sparked immediate backlash. Human rights organizations called it a humanitarian failure. Activists described it as cosmetic cruelty, an attempt to clean up the image of the city, not the crisis itself. A federal judge later ruled the sweep may have violated constitutional rights, forcing the city into a legal battle that's still unfolding today. And here's the painful paradox: the zone wasn't safe. It wasn't sanitary, but for many, it was the only form of community they had left. It offered shared food, shared stories, and believe it or not, a sense of protection in numbers. When the bulldozers came, they didn't just tear down tents, they dismantled what little stability remained. So why did it happen? Some say it was about optics with the Super Bowl and other major events coming to town. Phoenix didn't want the world to see its darker side. Others argue it was about liability, that the city could no longer risk the growing chaos. But very few believe it was truly about compassion. Because if it were, the question wouldn't be, how do we get them out of here? It would be, how do we get them into somewhere better? The story of the zone is a cautionary tale. A reminder that homelessness is not just a visual problem to be hidden, but a structural one to be solved. And unless Phoenix finds a way to offer more than short-term fixes, the zone will return. It may not be in the same place with the same name, but the conditions, the desperation, they will find a way back. Number 4, deadly heat. Now let's talk about something you can't ignore in Phoenix, the heat. This isn't just hot weather. This is relentless, unforgiving, dangerous heat. Phoenix holds the title of the hottest major city in the United States, and that's not just a fun fact, it's a death sentence for the vulnerable. In the summer, daily highs often soar above 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's over 43 degrees Celsius, and that's just the air. On the streets, pavement temperatures can reach 160 degrees. That's hot enough to fry skin or a human life. And every summer, we see the same brutal headlines, but the one from last year still haunts the city. In 2023, nearly 400 people died from heat-related illnesses in Maricopa County alone, and at least half of them were experiencing homelessness. That's 200 lives lost, not to crime, not to addiction, but to the weather, to the sun, to something as simple and as cruel as not having a place to cool down. These aren't just numbers. These are people who collapsed next to bus stops, who never woke up under bridges, who sought shade in alleyways and never made it out. And the truth is, many of them didn't have to die, because Phoenix does have cooling centers. The city has set up over 80 locations where people can take refuge from the heat, libraries, churches, rec centers with air conditioning. But here's the catch. There are thousands more people in need than there are spaces available, and not everyone can reach them. Some don't have transportation. Others fear leaving their belongings behind, or worse, losing their spot in a crowded encampment. It's like putting a bandage on a bullet wound. The intention is good, but the scale is completely off. And as climate change accelerates, it's only getting worse. In 2024, Phoenix recorded 31 days straight of temperatures above 110 degrees. 31 days in a row where stepping outside felt like stepping into an oven. That's not just uncomfortable, that's lethal. Now imagine being elderly or having diabetes or mental health conditions that make it hard to regulate your body temperature. Then imagine having no home, no cold water, no fan, just heat day and night until your body can't take it anymore. This is what climate injustice looks like. The poorest residents are paying the highest price for a problem they didn't cause with their lives. And while officials have talked about expanding shelter beds and improving access to water and transportation, progress is slow. People need solutions now, not next summer, because in Phoenix, heat kills quietly, steadily, and disproportionately. And if we don't address this crisis head-on, this city of sunshine could become a furnace where survival is only for the privileged. Number 5, government response. So, what is Phoenix actually doing about this? Well, on paper, quite a bit. The city has launched several initiatives aimed at tackling the homelessness crisis, and one of the most visible is something called PHXCARES, that stands for Community Advocacy Response Engagement Services. It's a mouthful, but the idea is simple. Coordinate outreach, offer support services, and yes, clear out encampments. In theory, it's about balancing compassion with public safety. Outreach workers under PHXCARES go tent by tent offering resources, everything from hygiene kits and counseling to referrals for shelter beds. And when an encampment is flagged for removal, they're supposed to give people notice and alternatives. But here's the thing, when there aren't enough beds, when the shelters are already full, what alternative is there really? The program has been criticized for doing more cleaning than caring, more removal than rebuilding. And that brings us to the heart of the problem, not enough housing. In response, the state has stepped in, at least on paper. In 2024, the governor of Arizona announced an investment of nearly $90 million to build approximately 2,200 affordable housing units. Sounds promising. Right. But in a state where over 15,000 people are homeless and where affordable housing shortages top 135,000 units, it's barely scratching the surface. Still, it's something, and any progress is worth noting. But while these programs are trying to offer solutions, some of Arizona's policies seem to push in the opposite direction. For example, under current state law, residents can actually sue the city if homeless encampments aren't removed promptly. Think about that. Instead of helping address the root causes of homelessness, these laws essentially allow citizens to pressure the government into hiding the problem. Critics say it punishes poverty and forces cities to prioritize optics over outcomes, clean sidewalks over saved lives. And then there's the issue of universal basic income, a concept that's gained momentum in other states as a way to prevent homelessness before it starts, but not in Arizona. The state bans any city from implementing a basic income program, even on a pilot basis. So while cities like Los Angeles and Denver are testing guaranteed income to help at-risk families stay housed, Phoenix is stuck on the sidelines. So where does that leave us? Well, caught between intention and impact, between political optics and human outcomes. There are organizations, churches, and volunteers doing heroic work on the ground every day, offering meals, blankets, legal help. But without a structural shift in policy, without housing that people can actually afford, the cycle keeps turning. Because in the end, a few more beds, a few more dollars, or a few more outreach workers won't fix what's broken unless the system itself changes. Number 6, broken support system. You might be thinking, with all the attention and money being thrown at this issue, shouldn't we be seeing results by now? Well, here's the truth. Arizona spends more than $1 billion each year on services related to homelessness. That includes shelter programs, addiction, recovery, case management, mental health resources, and emergency outreach. It's not a small amount. In fact, it's one of the highest per capita expenditures on homelessness in the Southwest. And yet, the numbers keep climbing. Over the past 5 years, the unhoused population in Arizona has increased by 40%. Let that sink in. Despite the billions spent, the system seems to be drowning, not because people aren't trying, but because the need is growing faster than the resources. So what's going wrong? Let's start with the shelters across Phoenix and Maricopa. County emergency shelters are running at or near full capacity nearly every night. And even then, they can't keep up. On any given night, more than 6,000 people in the region have nowhere to sleep. That's 6,000 men, women, seniors, and children left to find safety under overpasses, in alleyways, or behind strip malls. And remember, this is happening in a city where summer temperatures can stay above 110 degrees Fahrenheit for weeks at a time. Try sleeping outside in that. Try surviving without shade, without water, without rest. For many, it's not just uncomfortable, it's lethal. The shelters that do exist are often understaffed and overworked. Social workers handle dozens of cases at once. Some emergency beds are limited to short-term stays, 2 weeks, maybe 3, and then people are back on the street. Others have strict entry requirements, turning away those with pets, partners, or mental health conditions. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, but the system is treating it like there is. And the ripple effects are everywhere. Hospitals are seeing spikes in emergency visits for dehydration, heat stroke, and untreated chronic conditions. Police officers are forced to act as de facto social workers, responding to calls that stem more from poverty than from crime. Local libraries have become daytime shelters, places to cool down charge phones or just feel human for a few hours. All of this points to one thing. The system isn't broken, it's overwhelmed. It was built for a smaller crisis, a temporary crisis. But homelessness in Phoenix is no longer temporary. It's structural. It's embedded in the housing market, in wage stagnation, in gaps in mental health care and addiction treatment. And until the support systems are scaled to match the scale of the crisis, not just in dollars but in design, we'll keep spinning in circles, building band-aids for a bleeding city. Because when the support system cracks, it's the most vulnerable who fall through first. And as we've seen, once you fall, it's a long, hard climb back. Number 7, impact on the city. Homelessness doesn't just affect the people living on the streets, it reshapes entire cities. In Phoenix, the crisis is visible on every level. It's not hidden in alleyways or out in the desert. It's downtown, right outside City Hall, beside luxury condos, and near the doors of bustling hotels. And whether you live here, visit here, or invest here, you can feel it. Let's start with the streets. More than 6,000 people sleep outdoors in the Phoenix metro area every night. And when basic sanitation breaks down, everything follows. Public restrooms are scarce. Trash piles up, syringes, broken glass, and human waste become part of the urban landscape. For city workers, it's a daily battle to keep public spaces usable. For families and tourists, it's a shock. And for residents trying to build a life here, it's disheartening. Then there's safety. It's important to be clear. Homelessness is not a crime. But when desperation meets neglect, small problems can spiral. Reports of petty theft, altercations, and disturbances around encampments have increased in recent years. In some areas, particularly near downtown and along the light rail, business owners say they've seen a drop in foot traffic, not because they fear the unhoused, but because they fear the unpredictability of a system that's stretched too thin. And all of this has a ripple effect on the economy. According to a 2025 report from the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, areas with high concentrations of visible homelessness have seen property values decline by up to 12% over the past 3 years. Investors are hesitant, tourists are uncomfortable, and neighborhoods that were once thriving begin to feel abandoned, not because of the people struggling to survive, but because of the lack of coordinated, humane response. But let's be honest, it's not all gloom. Phoenix is also home to dozens of grassroots organizations and thousands of everyday heroes doing what they can to bridge the gap. Nonprofits like St. Vincent de Paul, UMOM, New Day Centers, and Circle the City run food programs, mobile clinics, counseling services, and even job training initiatives. In 2024 alone, local food banks distributed over 8 million pounds of food, much of it going to low-income or unhoused residents. Churches open their doors as cooling stations. Volunteers hand out water socks and hygiene kits during heat waves. In the heart of the crisis, there is still heart. Neighborhood groups have also stepped in, organizing cleanups and outreach efforts. And while they can't replace a functioning public health system or affordable housing, they show that community matters, that compassion, even in small doses, still exists. But here's the question Phoenix must now face. What kind of city does it want to be? One that covers up the problem to protect its image, or one that confronts the truth, invests in people, and builds a model of urban recovery that others can follow? Because the world is watching investors, tourists, voters, and most importantly, residents. And right now, Phoenix is standing at a crossroads. Either let the crisis define the city, or let the city rise to define the solution. Phoenix, a city of two faces. On one side, it's the glowing symbol of progress, a booming tech hub, sun-drenched landscapes, sleek architecture rising from the desert floor. But on the other side, hidden in plain sight, is a story of struggle of thousands, living without shelter, without safety, without a future they can count on. This isn't just a Phoenix problem, it's an American reality. The homelessness crisis is growing in cities across the nation, but Phoenix has become one of the most striking examples, not because it's the worst, but because its contrasts are so sharp. Bright wealth beside deep poverty, sky-high investment alongside sky-high eviction rates, a place of opportunity, and yet for many a place of survival. So what do we do with a story like this? We remember that real change doesn't come from quick fixes or quiet cleanups. It comes from honest conversations, from compassionate policy, and from collective action. It requires city leaders, community organizers, neighbors, and yes, even viewers like you to recognize the shared humanity behind every tent, every sidewalk, every unheard story. Phoenix is standing at a crossroads. And maybe if we listen closely enough, we can help it choose the right path forward. If this story moved you or made you think differently about what you thought you knew, consider liking the video, subscribing to NVL Travel Documentary, or leaving a comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you, because in the end, travel isn't just about the places we visit, it's about the people we meet and the truths we're willing to see. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.